Hi New Life, my name's Liz Giovas, I'm one of the elders here and we're starting off with week 1 of our studies on Psalms today. Let's get into it. So I'd love to share with you all, I've always been a lover of people. I love to socialise, I love to have fun. Pretty much where the action is, that's where I want to be. I love seeing people happy and well and living life to their fullest. My personal happy times all have wonderful people in them. I have amazing memories of beach missions, sporting teams, living on campus at university. I just love living and laughing together with people. Conversely, it hurts my heart to see people in pain, particularly when there's something that can be done to help. Perhaps this is one reason why I work as a counsellor. I love having the privilege of seeing people who have the courage to make personal changes become the best version of themselves. Now, because I love working and being together with people, a while ago I completed my master's degree in family studies. It's a new field in Australia which basically takes a lot of the PhDs that people have developed in psychology, sociology, medicine and health and puts that research that has been done so well into relational principles that can be used every day, particularly for the purpose of helping people with everyday life. And interestingly, during the course of my degree, one of the observations that I made many times is that the research that is currently being seen as groundbreaking and new was actually offered as advice in Scripture many years before both qualitative and quantitative research proved these concepts were a good idea. For example, research has recently shown that the functions of having both a father and a mother in a child's life is a good thing. God spelt this out a long time ago. Research has also shown us lately that humans do better living in communities than as single entities. God also said in the Old Testament, it's not good for man to be alone. As Christians, we know that God is eternally wise, but what a joy it's been for me to see Scripture unknowingly by the researchers reaffirmed increasingly in social science. So along with my love and passion for people, one of the other things in life I love is words, just the power of words, the right words, the perfect words in the perfect occasion. It's a privilege to be able to express ourselves clearly so that people can connect with one another. I'm one of those people who, I don't mind a good photograph, but for me personally, it takes a step up if the artwork has a perfect quote as part of a piece. So what we're going to be talking about today is basically my two great passions, people and words, and how we can look at these two together in the Psalms. And as we come to study the Psalms together, I'd love to share the words of C.S. Lewis with you. He explains that sometimes when a master teaches a student, the master can forget a struggle. But when two pupils work together, sometimes they can solve difficulties in their work for one another better than the master can. So out of his book, Reflections on the Psalms by C.S. Lewis, I'm a paper copy girl, I read, and these are the words of C.S. Lewis. In this book then, I write as one amateur to another, talking about difficulties I have met or lights I have gained when reading the Psalms, with the hope that this might at any rate interest and sometimes even help other inexpert readers. I am comparing notes, not presuming to instruct. That just gave me such confidence reading those words, thinking if C.S. Lewis doesn't dare to instruct anyone, then Liz Giovas certainly isn't going to either, and I'd love to go on this journey to go together. So in praying about what to write on and study together, I felt passionately that the Psalms is a great book to delve into at the moment as we're learning to deal with some pretty big emotions in 2020, this unprecedented year. And the way I'd like to explain for us to look at the Psalms is through a concept of bibliotherapy. What it is, as I mentioned earlier, current studies that we've been looking at have dated the formal origins of bibliotherapy to the 20th century. But I think God used Scripture, particularly the Psalms, for lots longer than the 19th century. To go back a step, I'd like to explain quickly what bibliotherapy is and how it possibly relates to us learning about God and ourselves. I'm a super big geek in everything I do. I love definitions of words. So what we're going to do is go backwards, break it down. The word bibliotherapy, biblio, means relating to a book or books. Therapy is a word that means treatment intended to relieve or heal. Put simply, bibliotherapy is about books that are intended to relieve or heal. I can't think of a better description of the Psalms. Literature that is intended to relieve and heal. I use the Psalms to relieve my intense emotions. I use the Psalms as a pattern for my own healing. What we're going to do now is, rather than me hand over any deep biblical insights, as I mentioned, in fact, I don't even know that I have many, I'd like to walk us through the process of learning to learn from the Psalms, so that after these 4 weeks have concluded together, you guys have the skills and the insight to be able to read the Psalms in an insightful way for you all the days of your life. Personally, I can't stand fishing. I just hate it. But there is a proverb that means a lot. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Figuratively, let's learn to fish in the Psalms. Now, the process of bibliotherapeutic reading contains 3 easy steps. The first one, when we read any text, but particularly the Psalms, is identification. In the beginning of a piece, we need to see ourselves as the character explains themselves. We've all read great books where you go, yes, that's me, that's how I feel. We identify with the person writing the piece. The second step is catharsis. The definition of catharsis is the process of releasing and thereby providing relief from strong emotions. What happens when we read the Psalms, there's a cathartic process of, yes, that's me, that's how I feel, that's what I want to say. Again, it's very moving to read literature when you really feel how the person who is writing feels. Now, the third step is a really helpful one, and I believe God knows exactly what he's doing in that we look at resolution of a problem. What happens? How did this person resolve the issue? What is fascinating about using bibliotherapy to help ourselves or help other people is that the studies have shown that rather than go at people and say, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to heal in this way, that can have people feeling very defensive. Okay? Whereas if we put a solution on a plate in front of someone, it's much more likely to give them a little bit of emotional space to be able to look honestly at what might need to be done. Which leads us beautifully into integration, or the question, could I do that too? Now, my life has been quite defined in some ways by the fact that I'm a rebellious little brat. I'm informed of some things, and that's when I rebel. When someone says to me, you can't do that, there's a little something in me that says, well, watch this. Anyone else with me? Or if someone says, you must do this, my first question is, why? Why do I have to do that? Now, the thing about the step of integration in bibliotherapy is if something is presented, as we said, with this resolution, I'm more likely to go, maybe I could do that too. Maybe that's where I need to go. God absolutely knew what he was doing. So just as a quick ending up to today's study, we're going to look at one psalm briefly, okay? Psalm 4, and we're going to look at the process of bibliotherapy with it and do it in depth over the coming weeks. I've got it written out here. My favourite translation of the Bible is the Amplified Bible. As I said, I'm a lover of words. It gives me lots of beautiful options for words. And I love the Psalms in the Amplified Bible. But for the sake of time today, I'm going to read it out from the Passion Translation. So Psalm 4, an evening prayer for help. God, you are my righteousness, my champion defender. Answer me when I cry for help. First step, identification. That's me. I have said to God, answer me when I cry for help. Now here's the beautiful bit. Here comes the catharsis. Whenever I was in distress, you enlarged me. I'm being squeezed again. I need your kindness right away. Grant me your grace. Hear my prayer and set me free. Listen to me, you elite among men. How long will you defame my honor and drag it down into shame? Will you ever stop insulting me? How long will you set your heart on shadows, chasing your lies and delusions? Pause in his presence, or the word Selah. May we never forget that the Lord works wonders for every one of his devoted lovers. And this is how I know that he will answer my prayer. Have we ever felt this way? Tremble in awe before the Lord and do not sin against him. Be still upon your bed and search your heart before him. Bring to Yahweh the sacrifice of righteousness and put your trust in him. These are one of the bits, coming up is one of the bits that I read this psalm and I go, yes, that's how I feel sometimes. Lord, prove them wrong when they say God can't help you. Let the light of your radiant face break through and shine upon us. The intense pleasure you give me surpasses the gladness of harvest time, even more than when the harvesters gaze on their ripened grain and when their new wine overflows. And at the very end of what we were talking about with bibliotherapy is the resolution of the problem and the integration. This is actually one of my favourite Bible verses ever, Psalm 4, verse 8. Now, because of you, Lord, I will lie down and sleep in peace. It comes at once. For no matter what happens, I will live unafraid. This is the psalmist's resolution of their problems. That's something that they're going to do. But it walks us beautifully into integration in our own lives. Can I say, no matter what happens, even all these problems earlier in that Psalm 4, I will live unafraid. We'll talk more about honesty with God in the coming weeks and exactly how we can be honest with him. But for now, I hope we can read the Psalms together as people who, yes, have really big emotions, but we can find a healthy way of expressing them and an even healthier resolution of them in the Psalms. See you next time.